Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another episode of Top Tier Talk. This week, we're discussing all things football after it returns after the international break, which no one likes. So, we're going to start off with the earlier game Manchester United versus Brighton. Earlier game out of our three, so take it away, Chavez.
Why have you started with us? Okay, so the game itself, I will very briefly touch on what actually happened. The first 20 minutes, Ten Hag outclassed Azarbi. We initially started up better than them. We actually nullified Brighton. I was shocked. Probably the best 20 minutes of our season, even better than anything we produced at Arsenal. I thought maybe it was because Brighton had a second team out. So Robert Azarbi, I think time and time again, he's proved he's a top manager, and now he genuinely really has. He responded, and football's a 90-minute game. The rest of the 70 were fully Brighton. They were better than us in every aspect. They ran more than us. They retained the ball better than us. They just worked harder than us. They were more clinical. And they made more substitutions that were suitable to what was happening in the game. And yeah, we lost and we deserve to lose. No excuses.
Chavez, question for you. Assess Onana's start to his career at Manchester United.
Onana's made, for me, one mistake so far, and that was for the João Pedro goal.
All season?
That's it. All season, yeah.
Lies, mate, lies.
Tell me another mistake Onana's made.
He punched that Wolves striker. He didn't get caught.
Which was fantastic because it didn't lead to anything.
It should have, and they were...
It should have, but it didn't.
I know it didn't, but it's still a mistake. It's a mistake.
I suppose it's better,
if you want to count that?
Better to get that out of your system when they're not going to get picked up by the dodgy referees and the ones that they've paid whilst being at Old Trafford. But
that's one.
Twice by who's the Nottingham Forest striker?
Awoniyi.
Yeah,
I don't think that was a mistake.
He just gambled again. If he's expected to save one-on-ones, then fair enough. He also made
the Declan Rice shot. Probably should have gone better with that. Very weak hand on it.
Okay.
It's every game.
He also made probably the save of the season behind maybe Alisson against Newcastle.
Which one?
Ansu Fati just saved. It's probably the best save I've seen in a very long time. Right. You haven't seen it because you only watch the clips that lead to, Onana hate.
I do watch the clips, and I do watch the João Pedro one in which he got a very weak hand on it, and De Gea saves that.
Yeah, he does. I said that's the one mistake you could, if you really want to nitpick, that Onana has made at the club so far.
It's more than one, but yeah. Is another question for you: how long do you give Ten Hag before he's sacked?
If what I think could happen, there is a pathway for Ten Hag to be sacked. If we lose 7-0 to Bayern sometimes produce that against teams, and then we lose to Burnley, I think Ten Hag could be sacked. It's unfortunate because every time we have a manager, they get fourth, they stay. The next season, there's disarray and they get sacked. If we do sack Ten Hag, it's just going to happen again. We'll get the next manager who you will probably believe is unbelievable. Maybe Robert Azarbi, give me a manager, Pep Guardiola, give me anyone. Do you really think Pep Guardiola can win Champions League with Man United next year? Do you really think Pep Guardiola can win Premier League with Man United next year? The answer is no, because no one can until we get rid of these owners. The owners did not cost us against Brighton. This single game was just down to the players. But there is no operating manager in world football that will win the Premier League with Man United. If we do sack Ten Hag, cool, do it. Keep getting the next line of managers until the Glazers, pass away naturally in their 80s whenever they get old. This will continue to happen. So you can continue to focus on the managers. If that's what Man United fans are doing, they are very thick because we've gone through a few managers now. We've gone through probably the second, third best manager of all time in Mourinho. We've gone through every type of manager. We've gone through someone who knows the club in Oli. We've gone through Van Gaal, who was so successful internationally. We've gone through Rangnick, who had a completely different style of football, gegenpress. We went through that, didn't work. It's just going to continue. So carry on, bring the next manager if that's what we need.
Do you think you've gone past the point of Glazers can stay if they spend money now, which they did in the summer?
Whether it's right or wrong, money every year.
The Glazers have spent £0 million for Man United since they've come in.
Okay, bought players into the club because they take debt against the club. So scrap that part of the question then. But
but they're not footballing minds. So the fact that sometimes the manager gets the 100% say, someone non-footballing like Ed Woodward, we don't have a structure. People like that should not get a complete say in the footballing decisions at the club. We need a director of football. They didn't hire one.
Ten Hag does. Lisandro Martinez, Anthony.
Ten Hag isn't a director of football. He needed someone who he can work with.
They're his players.
Tell me what manager has a 100% say in the players they get in every player they get in.
Sorry, repeat that.
What manager, what football club that's operating at a good level has a manager with 100% sole decisions on every player that comes in? There's no such thing. You have a director of football. You have someone who is involved in the decision with the manager.
So
We
it's
don't
not
have that.
Ten
We don't have
Hag's
a
fault
structure.
that his players are flopped.
Yeah, because Ten Hag's a footballing coach, a manager.
Yeah, I know, but he identifies players he needs for
Yeah,
the.
and then he needs someone to override him. He's not. He's got
So
his
it's his
tactics. He's got
fault
what
that
needs to be put
someone
out on the
says
pitch.
no to. So it's his fault that someone says no to buying Anthony, not the fact that the Glazers put out 70, 80 odd mil for him.
Ten Hag does not decide the price of the player.
No, not the price. It's not because there's no one there to tell Ten Hag no, he can't get Anthony. It's the Glazers' fault. They buy him for 80, 90 million, if that makes sense.
No, it's the Glazers' fault for hiring someone who would actually be willing to do that. The Glazers aren't involved in our footballing decisions. They just don't know how to hire the correct people. They don't know the offside rule, let alone who to hire and to make all these decisions. Our club's in a shithole. Like we're in debt. We were not in debt. We are completely back to front, finished. And these guys, they will leave. And if we don't get new owners now, it will happen whenever. We will be in debt either way. We
Yeah,
can
see, like,
sack
I
more managers.
understand
We can
your, I
sack more
understand
managers. We can sack 15 managers. It just won't change anything. We'll get a manager who'll get us top four. Cool. Next season they won't. Like it's just always going to happen. We've seen it enough times now.
Like I understand like the Glazer point of like the stadiums like got leaks and stuff or all that, but you gotta give it to them. They do fork out money for players like 60, 70 mil.
They don't. They don't. That's just revenue
Lisandro
made by the club.
Martinez for 50 million. Yeah, but they're still using that revenue to buy players, no?
Yeah, but they
What
don't
do you
have
want
the
them to
right
do?
people in place to make those. Like, if
What
they
do you
actually
want them
cared
to
about the
do?
club, they would get the right people in. But they don't know the right people
So is
to
Ten Hag
hire
not
to
the
make those
right people,
decisions.
then? Was
Ten
Ten Hag
Hag was not the director of football in Man United. He's not in charge of
he's the
transfers.
manager of Manchester United?
Doesn't matter.
So
He
what?
has to have some.
Okay, so you haven't got the right person in charge of your director of football slot in your boardroom.
We don't have a director of football, Dan. We don't
Okay,
have someone who
okay,
does
you
that job. We have
haven't got
John
a
Murta.
director. Okay, you haven't got one. Full stop. Would you be
Mm.
happy for them to turn around and not sign any more players until you've got a director of football? Because that's basically what you're saying.
Why do we need to do that? Why don't we just get one
Because you're
like every
complaining
other?
about how they don't spend money when you've got.
Whether it's Man United's
No, I'm
money,
not saying
their
we don't.
money,
I'm
or
not
they've done a
saying we
charity
don't
collection.
spend money. Like it's just not their money. It's the club's money.
But-
There's nothing nice about what the Glazers
but-
are doing. They've taken money. They haven't. We haven't gained anything from the Glazers. They've taken all our money. We are in 1 billion debt.
I
We
just
were in
think
zero.
poorly.
I touched on this years ago when we were talking about United about the amount of debt that you're going to be in, and it is dangerous because someone has to then buy the club with that amount of debt because it's not Glazer's debt, it's Man United's debt. It's under the club's name, isn't it? I'm pretty
No,
sure
the moment the club gets bought out, it's not their debt. They're just done. They'll get.
that's
They
what
get
I'm
the
saying.
dividends.
It's
so they
Manchester
can't.
United's debt. It's not the Glazers' debt. It's all in Manchester
It's
United's
actually
name.
fantastic from business from them. It's fantastic because they'll leave it completely scot free once they do sell the club, and the club will still be in debt, which we'd assume the next owners would pay off. But yeah. Do you think I would ask you as an outside viewer? Do you think that Man United should sack Ten Hag? Who's the manager to win us that Premier League next season? Tell me who that manager is in world football that will guarantee us the Premier League.
You're
I
years
back
away.
the Ten Hag
No,
appointment.
but if Pep, who's the best manager in the world? May I ask? Pep Guardiola, right? Can you tell me when Pep Guardiola will win us the Premier League?
I feel like
Years.
Mourinho. If Mourinho was back like Ten Hag, I feel like Mourinho would have won you the league.
Backed like Ten Hag? I thought you said we were backed.
No. There was a period after. Was it the fake treble that he won? He wasn't backed. He didn't get the centre back, and then when Oli came in, he got Maguire and stuff. I feel like if he got the level of backing that Ten Hag has had the last 2 years, I reckon you guys could have won a league by now with Mourinho. Because in
So
terms of
would you sack Ten Hag
there
then?
was a couple reasons. You guys were not happy with Mourinho's style of play, right? It was all defense, etc. And also he was falling out with a lot of players. They're on the same two things Ten Hag's doing and getting away with.
Ten Hag, I don't think he's falling out with players. I don't think he's done anything incorrectly. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Sancho should just fuck off. It's like no player, and Ronaldo should rightfully go away.
Ego, though. I feel like there's a bit of an ego.
Okay. Two things. Ego. Do you think Ten Hag should have apologized for Ronaldo doing an interview that was completely outside of the club's control and happened completely?
No, of course not. But the interview only happened as like and
It let it get to that point.
He let it get to that point. He didn't bring him on.
He captained Ronaldo the week before that against Norwich.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen in a week. That stuff like that doesn't happen in a week.
Up, like to be honest, I still don't back you lot getting rid of Ronaldo. I know it's so
Oh
far
my
back we're
days.
going.
That's
But
revisionism. That's revisionism. Ronaldo set us back when we got goals out of him. Cool. There's a give or take with having a player as good as that, but generally to the system because football's an
Surely
11-man
kept you in
sport.
the Champions League that first season for as long as you did, and
He
then you
did,
got.
but there's a give or take. He's that good that he could do it alone, but that affected the rest of the
But yeah,
team.
so and then also with the Mourinho thing, that the counter attacking the football, part the bus stuff, it's the exact same you're doing with Ten Hag. There is no
He
style of
just,
play at the moment,
I
in my
think,
opinion.
over a season, Ten Hag's missing a lot. Again, no excuse against Brighton. They
Of course,
outclassed us.
yeah.
They're a better team. They're a better team. But over a season, I think Ten Hag, once he gets the actual personnel he's signed and, half our team's injured, I think we will show some level of consistency in the football we play. Again, that could be stopped if Ten Hag gets sacked and we get the next manager in who will be inevitably sacked as well. And I'm convinced if Pep Guardiola was our next manager, which he won't be, he would also be sacked in 2 years and people would also question how good a manager is because it's impossible. It's impossible.
Just touch. I suppose that was probably you've done your weekly rant about the Glazers and Ten Hag being the right man for the job. Ferguson didn't play, did he?
He did for like 5 minutes, but he was injured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna float my João Pedro propaganda train. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good finish, but it should have been saved. He just came on. I still think Pedro doesn't start for that team. Bet Brighton's best 11. On our regard, just actually about the game, Rashford and Bruno, two players getting absolutely slayed, rightfully so. Sometimes they play shit, but they are our best players. Rashford really does my head in because he is our only real threat, but at the same time, he doesn't really try hard. I think when it comes to questioning how much you put effort in, it shouldn't even be a question for a player like Rashford. And for him to do that, it's heartbreaking to watch because he's supposed to be, one of our own. And look at that. He's
That
not.
was
He's running less than Ronaldo did.
When
that's what I mean. Dan's criticism of Rashford is the inconsistency. Like last season, he had such a sick season. Then this season, it's like it's going back to the previous season, the 2 years.
Thing is,
ago.
all it takes is a bit of effort and a couple of good decisions, and he's literally a world beater again. He's literally has it in him. You can watch it and you see it.
That's another thing I've got an issue with United fans. You overgas your players. Like, I think Ten Hag's been a bit overgas, which is why like the highs are so high, but then the lows, when they're low, you guys get criticised to the point of like probably
no return.
I think so a bit, but it's because you guys do judge your players up a bit too much.
But I just got to touch on obviously with Rashford. How long is it going to take, or how much will it take, or how little will it take from Rashford for Man United fans? I've been a believer for years that Rashford isn't the player that everyone thinks he is. It's common knowledge that I love English players, but I also hate watching them. And I've said it for years that I don't think Rashford is that player, or he is him, as Man United fans have put him, as you obviously generational when he was younger and his debut season and so on. But how many times can a player have purple patches or be so up and down to go, he's not consistent enough to be that level. He's not good enough to be that level.
What's that level? Do you think he should not be a Man United player?
What did I say? It was a half jokey comment. Where did I say he should be at Aston Villa? Was it last year?
Okay, I'll paint you a picture. Rashford is currently playing absolutely shit, like to the bottom tier of how he plays, and yet he's probably the biggest threat in our team.
That's sad.
Should we? Sunday, 2:00 next weekend. We are holding a funeral for Manchester United. Wear bright colours because it's funny. Could be a stand-up show, so I hope to see you all there.
Well, when we beat Bayern, we'll be back.
Can we have a score prediction before we move on?
I don't. 3-0.
Yeah.
I think it suits us when we play like a big team away in Europe. We did it against PSG. PSG had full control of the ball. Barcelona, I thought we did really well. We could have won that game. This is now the next test. On the counter, I think we're one of the best in the world, and I can see us coming out with something. It's not much of a reflection for like what we actually want to do in the future.
Coming out with a goal, or coming out with a point, or coming out
we can get
not
a point.
looking too embarrassed, or what's your level of expectancy these days?
I think a point is a very good result for you if you do.
Yeah, a point away from home. A point away from home in any Champions League game is not a bad result. So a point against Bayern would be extraordinary.
It's like Man City get Shakhtar every year. Not so good. It's a Bayern.
Yeah.
Speaking of Man City, I suppose I'll move on to those. West Ham 1, Man City 3. West Ham, it was similar to the Brighton game in terms of... the West Ham Brighton game, not Brighton Man United. They just tore you a new one. In terms of West Ham, played very well, but were very unlucky or very lucky in terms of they were playing Brighton. but
West Ham were
they're
good in
playing
the
Man
first
City.
half. They were good in the first half. Like big shout out to Man City and the scouts team. Like I wish every day my club is like Man City because they buy Jeremy Doku and that guy. Watching him live that guy is insane. He's skinning players for fun. Got the goal as well. Another game changing signing by Pep. So you got to give it to them. They replace, and when they replace, it's just as good. And he can only improve. He's so young, Doku. It's crazy. Like I'm so scared. I'm praying for the day Pep leaves Man City because when he leaves Man City, I don't think they'll ever be the same again.
I think Doku's the perfect example of like, you know how people say, oh, because it's Pep and because it's Man City, a player can be good, but Doku's just come in and like, if he's going to play like that with absolutely zero like link right now to City, he's new and it's just incredible profiling. Like as you said from the scouts, it's genuinely beyond this world, and it's so depressing to watch as a Man United fan, and I'm sure for any other big team because they've smashed it. He's not even a player that when Doku got signed, people were saying, is he even a Pep Guardiola winger? Because you know what a Pep Guardiola winger is like. You've seen the memes. They're supposed to pass the ball back when they're at a defender, but he's not. He's the opposite. And now they've got everything. Like everything. Whenever they're missing something, they were missing the big nine. They got Haaland. They're missing a direct old school winger. They got Doku. They're just extraordinary with how
It
they.
doesn't take a year
Whoever's
like
again.
Grealish to already look like he's settled in.
I don't think that's a Pep Guardiola signing, by the way. That's a director of football, a good consultation between the footballing people in Man City, which is what we're missing. But anyways.
No, absolutely insane. Fair play to West Ham. They held it in the first half, but City's quality, like Areola looked good and made loads of saves, but Haaland finally got his goal. Haaland was terrible that game as well.
Missed chances, yeah.
He could have had 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah, and he got his goal at the end, and everything's just gone past. It's just with him. It's just
he's missed 8 big chances, the most in the Premier League. 8. So imagine
he's also scored 7 goals. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he'd be on something ridiculous.
He'd be on 11 already.
Yeah.
He'd be on 11
if
goals
he was
already.
at Chelsea, I reckon it'd show a bit more. It's because Man City creates so much.
Yeah, I feel like he would definitely not get that many goals that he did it. Like but he has to finish them, which he does.
Also, to subtract from Haaland, which is something we haven't really done over the last a year now, I suppose. Julian Alvarez filling in for De Bruyne. Brilliant.
How was he?
Insane.
Well, in terms of he's getting assists every game. He got 2 on Saturday, didn't he? I think. Pretty sure he got 2. Yeah, he got 2 assists. Yeah.
Pep for me, best manager of all time now. I think he's over.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
like the innovation the guy does is crazy. Putting a striker and attacking midfield, putting years ago Delph left back, etc. Just everything he does is just insane. It's insane.
It's insane and it works. That's the thing. It's bonkers and it comes off.
It's a 10. Zinchenko's a 10 for Ukraine, left back for Man City now. It's just yeah. I'm in awe of Pep.
Are we all speechless on City now, or are we? The wider standard, really, isn't it?
Let's move on from them. It's just bullshit.
We're going to touch on the Spurs game quickly. Richarlison's finally got a goal, so congratulations. The memes can stop. Late smash and grab against Sheffield.
It's one of those results. He got the assist as well. He got the assist for the Kulusevski goal.
Yeah, which is Kulusevski's was very well taken as well. In terms of Sheffield, I think the Sheffield manager was moaning, or the goalkeeper was moaning about added time. It's well aware. Everyone's well aware. Fans are aware. Players are aware that there's 3 to 5 working days being added on.
Rightly so, because there was a lot of time wasting in that game. I don't like Spurs, but there was a lot of time wasting.
It's frustrating. Teams shouldn't. I said it when the rules come in, and I said it pretty much weekly. Teams shouldn't get rewarded for time wasting. If you're 1-0 up, you shouldn't basically get gifted the 3 points when it comes to 90 plus minutes and there's 2 minutes injury time and you've wasted. Yeah. Like the only other solution would have been to stop the clock when the ball was out of play or there's been an injury and stuff. But games would be lasting 3-4 hours. So,
yeah,
I agree.
But yeah, Spurs still unbeaten. Looks like they're coping still without Harry Kane.
I don't think anyone really likes Spurs unless you're a Spurs fan. But I think quite a lot of football fans, I suppose, are really get like warm into Postecoglou. His interviews are great. He seems like his comment. He was asked about obviously Spurs fans overreacting, and he was like, "The fans let them enjoy it. Is this what it should be?" He wasn't. Doesn't seem like he takes much too seriously in press conferences. He seems quite.
No, he's charismatic, isn't he?
Yeah, like it seems like he's got a brain almost, whereas quite a lot of managers don't. They're very robotic and programmed and standard. Do you know what I mean? But whereas he seems
They're very
even,
media trained answers.
even
Isn't
a couple of weeks ago when he made that joke comment about Pep and like imitating his style of play and stuff like that, it's refreshing to see. But no, in terms of that, it was Spurs 2, Sheffield 1. Saturday night game, Newcastle 1, Brentford 0. It was a fairly even match teams now, I suppose, in terms of play. Newcastle obviously getting the penalty, which, did you remember it? Did you see it? Do you think it was a pen?
No, I
Haven't
didn't
seen
see
any.
it. No.
It's one of them ones, keepers just mistimed it, tripped him up with his knees when the ball was going out of play anyway. Gordon's fallen over like he does. And yeah, I suppose there's not a lot of choice, I suppose. You give the referee a decision to make. He's going to give a pen, especially with there being contact. But it was minimal contact. Callum Wilson getting the goal there. So yeah, that puts them another 3 points on the board. Moving on to Sunday now. Amir, I don't know how long you're going to want to spend talking about this. Bournemouth 0,
No, I'm
Chelsea
ready.
0.
If you don't want to bring smoke and questions, I'm up for it. Yeah, Chelsea 0, Bournemouth 0. Very, very poor game from us. Few big chances in the game, especially in the first half that were missed. We should have probably grabbed it, but Bournemouth did also have a big chance as well, which David Sanchez saved as well. So yeah, no, big up to Sanchez. I criticised them the week before, but probably my player of the match that game. So fair enough. I thought he wasn't. He's obviously good with his feet, but I thought actual handling and stuff. But he proved me wrong there. We're poor at the moment, and I think it's going to stay like this. Fair play to Poch for taking Chilwell out, but it didn't make much of a difference, to be honest. Everything's still down the Sterling side. I don't know what this fetish is with just going down through Sterling, everything through Sterling, because the very few chances we attacked through Mudryk, he created the big chances and the free kick for us. So yeah, and I didn't agree with him coming off around 60th minute. So yeah, it was like a like for like. So we're trying to go for the win, and we take off a winger for Palmer, not taking off one of our more defensive midfielders. Trying to win.
Where do you see Chelsea? Like, basically, we've seen like a few games now. Where do you actually see Chelsea finishing the season? If you had to really put your mortgage on it, based on everything.
It's hard at the moment because we're just like you guys. We're in an injury crisis. We've got 12 injuries at the moment, so Poch can't really use all the players he wants. I mean, we've seen our bench. I don't even half of them. No one knows really. I think it's with the way we're going right now. This form, it's like a eighth to 10th finish. I think.
Would you sack Poch if you were to finish outside of the Champions League spots? Top 5?
No, I wouldn't actually. To be honest with you, I was predicting us to finish top 4 with preseason.
Or top 5?
Top 5 with the preseason, but if we do get a Champions League spot, I think we've overachieved there because we're really poor right now. Like with you guys, like the amount of big chances missed. Jackson wasn't really involved in that game. I mean, Sterling first few games looked good, and he's looking a bit like back to his old self. Do you know what I mean? We're leaving gaps as well. The fullbacks are going too high up, and then on the counter we're getting absolutely destroyed. Their chance, their big chance they had was because of that. Wing backs are gone. It's the centre backs there, and Thiago Silva's about 45 years old, and he's slow as a dumb truck. And Disasi's quite slow as well. So bit of work to do there, but yeah, I think 8th to 10th.
What would you say? What needs to change? What needs to change for you to actually get top 5? What is there something you can see as a fan that maybe I don't know? Like
our midfield freeze, and you guys can judge. We have the Leslie, the DM guy.
Ugo Chekwe.
Yeah.
How'd you say that?
I'm going to go with the same pronunciation as you.
We got him, and then we got Gallagher playing with Enzo, 2 holdings. So there's not actually 10 there. So Enzo's trying to play as the 10, and he's not really a 10. I would play Leslie for now because he's our DM. I'd play him, Enzo, and then like a Cole Palmer since Nkunku's out. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there's enough in the attacking end, and our attacking players are missing a lot of chances. Do you know what I mean? I didn't agree with Mudryk coming off. So I don't know if he came off because he was on a yellow and he was a bit rash, but he created our best chances. So,
do you think it'd be worth? Obviously, you're not going to get relegated. I know we're only a few games this season, but when you're not going to get relegated, and no Chelsea fans are expecting you to finish in the major European spots.
I think there is a lot of expectation. I mean, the players will be.
There has to be.
There has to be.
But okay, based on the start of the season, it's looking like another season that's just highs and lows and ups and downs.
That's
Do
always
you do you think it's worth Poch experimenting in terms of we touched on it with Pep putting Zinchenko as a 10 for Ukraine at wing back and Delph as a midfielder at would you say, as you were saying, there's not enough bite in the attack, bringing one of the
Well, he
wingers
has
into the
been
middle and Cole Palmer
experimenting.
out wide? Yeah, but his experiments was putting Chilwell at left wing, really, wasn't it?
Lead by Cole left back, which I absolutely don't agree with because he's not offering enough in the
Okay.
attacking.
I'll rephrase that. And then your front four, like your proper offensive players, do you reckon it's worth experimenting with them in terms of bringing one of the wingers out that are out wide into the middle, maybe Cole Palmer out wide because he played out there for City at some points? Do you reckon it, or what would you do if that was something that you'd?
I mean, we got a point yesterday, but if we lost that game, I reckon it'd be much worse. I mean, the players got booed and Chilwell got booed, which is rightly so because we should be beating a team like Bournemouth. I know every Prem game's hard and it could be me with just being a bit cocky, but should be
No, no, no. You should be beating
we should
Bournemouth.
be beating with how much we've
Yeah.
spent. I mean, Caicedo's out now as well, which isn't great. He's got like a knee injury, so we see what that is. But it's just getting
Okay,
worse.
can I ask? So with all the money spent, which is quite a lot, I don't even know the number. The number gets thrown out around. It's different every time. Do you not think that it would be really strange for you to keep Pochettino if you don't get Champions League?
It depends. It really depends on how we play. If there's improvements in the way we play, then no, because there's something to build on.
Mm,
With Potter, there wasn't anything. I mean, the first three games that we were, I think it was the first. I think before the international break, we created the most big chances. We also missed the most big chances. This is like
mm,
we weren't doing that before. So if there's improvement
mm.
there and there's stuff to build on, I don't see why he would get sacked
Okay, next question. When do you think Mudryk will get his first Premier League goal?
next week.
Next week. Who are you playing?
Huh?
Who are you playing?
I think we're Villa at home.
You've
Mm,
already played Luton and he didn't score against them,
Yeah,
so
play.
mm.
Injuries.
can't.
Okay,
Still,
next question. I have a few questions. Okay, next one. Jackson is your striker this season. That's your main
Yeah,
striker. You
yeah.
actively made that decision. How many goals do you expect from him in the Premier League this season?
He's on one at the moment. 10 leads,
10.
hopefully. I don't think at this rate, he ain't reaching that, but 10 league goals.
Mm.
Actually, yeah, 8 to 10 league goals. 8 to 10, yeah.
he's lowered it. He realised 10 was too high. He's had to lower it.
Yeah. And with his Hoyland
Okay,
5.
okay. I'm going to present you a season. Let's say okay, you don't get top five, you don't get Champions League football, you don't even get European football. It's very similar to last season. You also don't win any cup competitions.
Yeah.
Um, would surely at that point you've got a second manager who has had so much backing. It doesn't matter what injuries you have, you still have a very expensive squad that plays week in, week out. Surely you've got to move on
Yeah,
from
they probably will
Pochettino.
sell it. Yeah, they probably will. Yeah.
Mm, okay.
Isn't that obvious though?
What's the best that can come out of this squad? This squad right now, if they were absolutely firing, is this squad capable of winning the Premier League
No,
one
no,
day?
no. It's not capable of winning the Premier League. It's capable of a
It has to be somewhere
Third.
like
third to second finish.
third
But
Third,
that's the,
definitely.
at its best. At its best.
At its best, with everyone firing, is a third.
Mm,
This top three team.
really?
but that's the only thing now. Is obviously I mean to
Do
touch
you
on
not
top
think that?
three.
Do you not think
No,
that?
It's a
this is what I
lot.
was going to say. I
It's
was
a lot of money spent in there to just what's
Yeah,
missing for
but you
first.
say it's a lot of money spent, but half these players are youngsters, and we did
Yeah,
sell
okay. At the
entire
peak of
squad.
their powers, they progress the way they
Peak of their
should.
powers.
Like
that's
they're
years.
young,
That's
so they
years.
need to.
No,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. Like, what have they bought here? What?
we did
Sometimes my
sell
issue, no,
everyone.
man. The reason I ask this question is I look at your team sheet sometimes, and I'm like, 1 billion, like 1 billion was spent on this, and it doesn't look like a billion.
So half of them
Conor
are
Gallagher's a starting
12
midfielder.
injuries. 12 injuries, Chavez. No one Kunku. I'll
Okay,
Yeah.
start that as well,
okay.
yeah.
All of those out of those 12, how many would start in your starting 11?
Let's go. Let me have a look.
Actually, forget about all of that, Amir. Tell me your best Chelsea team right now.
My
The
best
team
team
that you say will get us,
right
get you
now,
top three
or
if it was its best.
with no injuries.
No, no injuries. Your best team that would get you your top three if they were playing well.
Okay, we'll do Sanchez in goal.
Hmm.
Reece James. We'll go Thiago Silva. Badiashile / Colwill.
Hmm.
Chilwell left back.
Okay.
We got Caicedo, Enzo, and Kunku in the 10.
Okay.
Then is it Mudryk or I'll probably put Sterling as one of the wingers, 100%. Jackson up top,
Hmm.
and Mudryk / Madueke. I mean, Sterling can switch either side. I think
One
like
slot's open for whoever plays better. Okay, for your sake, I know I'm a Man United fan, but I'd love to see that team. I want to see it. Whether we get it, because you do employ Reece James, we don't know. But by the way, shout out to Gusto. He said he did his research before he joined Chelsea. We all know what that means.
do you know what? Gusto's been great for us, and if Reece James, I mean, I heard Real Madrid might be sniffing him in the next couple of years if he ends up does leave, and I think Gusto could be.
He smashed it because he literally looked at, does Reece James play football? How much does he play? And he doesn't. So Gusto plays now, and he's really going to establish
Do you
himself
think
as
that
a
team
right back.
finishes top 4 though? The one I said.
Again, the thing is, Amir, when Man United had their best 11 last season, we were top 2 material, top 3. Well, we were actually close to Arsenal. So I'm sure that team should. Like, it's just not how football works, sadly.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So speaking of, you said you got close to Arsenal. Last game that's been played, got Nottingham Forest against Burnley tonight, but no one is going to be watching that. So Everton 0, Arsenal 1. They scraped another 3 points. We say it in terms of the champions or teams that win leagues and stuff, but they've got 3 points. They haven't won at Goodison since like 2018. So they've broken that record, or unfortunate record is probably the better term to use. And they got 3 points. They come away with 3 points, and it's only 1-0. But people were going, "Oh, it's only 1-0 against Everton, who have been terrible this season." I think they've only picked up 1 point, haven't they?
Yeah.
So
they've been terrible. This is not a reflection. I would love to talk about Arsenal Football Club because even Arsenal fans will agree they haven't actually put in a good performance yet this season. This is why we can't judge too early yet. We can't judge Chelsea, we can't judge Man United, and we can't judge Arsenal. What I would say, there's a couple of things. So, for example, Trossard is doing brilliantly at Arsenal. This is going to counter my point that I just made. If Trossard went to Chelsea and Mudryk went to Arsenal, I think it would still be the same. Mudryk would do really well at Arsenal, and Trossard would go to Chelsea and he would do shit. I think Chelsea are a bit toxic because a lot of people now are saying, "Oh, Chelsea should have, Arsenal did a great thing not getting Mudryk." I really think Mudryk's got something there. There's a reason why we like him. He's got something in there. He's just at a toxic club right now. That's just improving, I guess, at some point. But as for Arsenal themselves, Vieira played instead of Havertz. Finally, Arteta, same person. He made the right decision. Havertz got dropped, but Vieira did the exact same thing. So they've got that one position where I think if they wanted to be an absolute elite team, they need that Caicedo type player. They need that box to box. They're actually genuinely missing that unless Thomas Partey comes in and Declan Rice plays it. So there's a bit of that. But Arsenal are not that good for me this season. Also, one last thing I really want to touch on. Arsenal fans that are saying that the keeper's being rested back and forth, this and that, that's utter bullshit. Keepers don't need to be rested. I think Ramsdale has been done quite dirty here. If he plays in the Champions League, fair enough. But I think long-term, Arteta will pick one goalkeeper when one makes a mistake. And Raya looked much better. Raya looked like a calming presence. So,
yeah. I mean, not too much from me about the Arsenal game, but I did want to do something with you guys if we got enough time. We obviously got the Champions League coming back. I want to go for each group, and I want you lot to pick the top 2 for finishing that group.
okay. That's fine, yeah.
I've got the groups. So Group A, we've got Bayern, Man United, Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. What is your guys' top 2?
Bayern and Galatasaray.
I think the whole group comes down to Galatasaray away for us. If we can get something out of that, then I think Bayern and Man United. If not, then Bayern and Galatasaray.
I think still Bayern and Man United, but fair enough.
I think we'll get through the Champions League, but then get destroyed next round.
Group B, Sevilla, Arsenal, PSV, Lens.
Arsenal and Sevilla.
I think it's going to be a rude awakening for Arsenal. I'll go Sevilla and PSV. And this is not coming from a position of hate. I don't think Arsenal player are there yet to be playing European nights. They're not used to it.
They're also not that European. They don't have the pedigree, do they?
No, they lost to Sporting in the Europa League.
And Olympiacos years ago.
Yeah.
Group C, Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga, Union Berlin. I think this is very easy. Real Madrid,
Napoli, yeah.
Group D, we've got Benfica, Inter Milan, RB Salzburg, and Real Sociedad. This one could be a bit...
Inter?
Yeah.
Inter and Benfica, I guess.
Benfica do always go through out their group. They always make it out.
Yeah, they always get out there. Yeah, Salzburg are still in the club.
Okay, well, then we've got final, Atletico Madrid, Lazio, and Celtic.
Madrid and Lazio.
Celtic are not getting out of that group. Atletico Madrid and Yeah, Lazio.
Lazio, yeah. Good group. There's PSG, Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle.
Newcastle are not making out of that group.
Bottom place for Newcastle?
I'll say third. I'll have faith in the English team.
I think Newcastle will come bottom. PSG, what was it? PSG,
PSG,
Dortmund.
Dortmund.
Dortmund, AC Milan. And AC Milan just lost 5-1 to
Mm.
Inter.
I still think AC Milan in the Champions League. PSG and AC Milan.
Yes, yes, and
I'll say PSG and Dortmund. I'll go for.
Last two to go. Got Man City, RB Leipzig, Crvena Zvezda,
That's Red Star Belgrade, yeah.
Red Star Belgrade, and Young Boys.
Yeah,
Man
Man
City.
It's
City.
fairly obvious.
Yeah,
And
the Red Star
finally,
Belgrade are not there yet.
Barcelona, Porto, Shakhtar, and Antwerp. Is a
That's such an easy group again.
Barca
Yeah.
and Porto.
Do you know what? Shakhtar. Barcelona, Shakhtar. You never know.
I'll say Barca, Porto.
I'm backing my boy Taremi for Porto, so I think Barca, Porto.
And then we'll see. I think it's too early to predict who's
Probably
going
one
to
of the
win it.
worst
Yeah.
Champions League group stages ever.
Yeah, I think Newcastle. I think the way this Champions League becomes good is if Newcastle turn up. Because if Newcastle turn up in that group will be so interesting to watch. And it starts tomorrow. If they can beat AC Milan, very interesting.
Score predictions for that whilst we're here before we finish up.
1-0 to AC Milan.
Is that at Newcastle? See, they've got.
No, it's in Milan. It's in Milan.
Oh, it would have been so nice if they started in Newcastle. Yeah, the Milan have got to win that 1-0. What would you say for Bayern United?
4-1.
I'd say 3-0 Bayern. 3-0 Bayern whitewash.
No, everyone's going to write off Man United, and it'll be Højlund's first goal with the last minute or something stupid like that.
And then Ten Hag will run and cup his ears and shush everyone.
No, he's not Mourinho. I think we'll get a result. I think we'll get a 1-1 just because the style of play that will be required to get anything suits us. So
there we have it. That is it for this week. Manchester United are going to beat Bayern Munich 1-1. So thank you very much for watching and see you next week.